Every morning is a silent battle, not against the world, but against your own mind. Most people wake up and, from the very first minute, surrender to chaos. They check their phones, rush aimlessly, react to everything, complain about nothing, and thus lose control of their day before it even begins. We'll talk about how to face voluntary discomfort, how to start with gratitude, how to stop seeking approval, and even how remembering your own mortality can give you power and direction. These aren't just habits. They are philosophical tools that great Stoics like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus used not only to survive but to lead with clarity amidst chaos. If you apply these ideas, your morning won't be the same, and neither will your life. Stay until the end, because every minute can be the beginning of a firmer mind in a day that is more truly yours. Imagine you encounter an unexpected problem. You can react with anger and despair, or with calmness and determination. That choice will always be yours. Marcus Aurelius clearly stated, "You have power over your mind, not over external events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But you're not here to repeat that unconscious routine. Distractions, external demands, and others' urgencies will consume your energy before you realize it. It's asking yourself, what is the one thing that would make this day work? It could be a commitment to your work, your personal growth, your character, or your relationship with others. The problem is that many people live their days without direction, like ships adrift, letting themselves be carried by the wind of circumstances. We seek hot water, abundant food, the comfort of the sofa, and the security of routine. But what we forget is that excessive comfort weakens the mind and spirit. The Stoics understood that life is full of unexpected difficulties, and only those who train their internal resilience can face them with strength. They fear failure, loss, criticism, or any unexpected event that could shake their stability. And without realizing it, this fear paralyzes them, makes them avoid risks, and leaves them at the mercy of uncertainty. You can lose your job, face an economic crisis, get sick, or receive bad news at any moment. But if you have already visualized these possibilities and considered how you could face them, the impact will be smaller, and the solution will be clearer. We pretend there will always be a tomorrow and postpone what's important as if time were infinite. But the Stoics understood an undeniable truth. Life is fleeting, and only those who remember its finitude can live with true intensity. Every day is an opportunity, and every action is imbued with intention. Modern society avoids talking about death, but the Stoics faced it head-on, not with fear, but with respect. Because knowing that life is finite is not a condemnation, it is a liberation. It's what reminds us that we must love without reservation, act without fear, and leave a mark on the world before we depart. There are no guarantees that we will see another sunrise. But what is in our hands is to decide how we are going to live today. Will we waste this day on trivialities, or will we take advantage of it as if it were the last? The Stoics teach us that remembering death is not depressing. It is what allows us to truly live. The Stoics didn't avoid thinking about adversity. They faced it beforehand. Marcus Aurelius clearly stated, "You are going to die, and you have not stopped procrastinating things. But time passes and life escapes you." Those who forget their mortality live in the illusion that there will always be more time to pursue their dreams, to ask for forgiveness, to say "I love you," to correct errors. But a day comes when that time is no more, and what remains are regrets. And in doing so, they transformed fear into preparation, uncertainty into strategy, and anxiety into total silence. The Stoics, instead of fearing the unknown, prepared for it. They practiced a powerful technique called premeditatio, the premeditation of evils, which consisted of consciously visualizing the possible obstacles and difficulties that could arise in the day or in life. At first glance, this may seem like pessimism, but in reality, it is the opposite. It is a strategy to strengthen yourself mentally and face any adversity with serenity. That's why they practiced voluntary discomfort, intentionally exposing themselves to small inconveniences to toughen the mind. If fortune grants him more than he expected, he will be grateful. If it takes something away, he will not be taken by surprise. Imagining the worst doesn't mean obsessing over tragedy, but training the mind so that when something difficult happens, you don't fall apart, but act with calm and clarity. He doesn't allow himself the luxury of ignoring dangers. Think of a warrior before battle. Instead, he anticipates them, studies them, and prepares for them. Thus, when the time for combat comes, his mind has already traveled that path, and nothing takes him by surprise. They answer messages, fulfill obligations, but they don't move towards anything significant. Not because he despised wealth, but because he wanted to be immune to the dependence on luxury and comfort. Voluntary discomfort is not unnecessary suffering, but a tool for growth. When you choose to expose yourself to the cold without a coat, take a cold shower, or fast, you show your mind that you can endure more than you think. You learn to master your impulses instead of being their slave. Today, we live in a society that values instant pleasure and immediate gratification. The result is frustration, dissatisfaction, and the feeling that life passes by without meaning. And when night comes, you'll ask yourself, What did I actually do today? The Stoics understood that life isn't about filling the day with meaningless tasks, but about living with intention. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great philosopher emperors, began his mornings by reflecting on what truly mattered. He didn't let his time be consumed by he directed his life with purpose. Over time, you'll notice that you become more resilient, more focused, and less affected by external distractions. Practice this every morning. You'll have control over the only thing that truly matters, your own mind. Go down to the comments and write this phrase. Today will be a great day. I am stoic. It's not just for interaction. It's for you, because by writing it, you're programming your mind from that moment to make your day spectacular. Every action, every decision becomes a conscious step towards something greater. You no longer get lost in the trivial because you have an internal compass that guides your choices. Stoicism teaches us that time is our most valuable resource and that each day is an unrepeatable opportunity. Don't let another day pass without intention. Wake up with clarity, with a defined purpose, and become the owner of your day instead of a passive spectator of it. Write it now, and let's begin. This simple reflection can mark the difference between a day of frustration and a day of total mastery over your mind. The Stoics understood that the greatest source of human suffering comes from trying to control the weather, traffic, the economy, others' opinions, even the actions of those around us. If you base your happiness on external things, you condemn yourself to a life of anxiety and dissatisfaction. You're here because you know there's another way, a stronger, clearer, more stoic way. In this video, I'll share 10 lessons from Stoicism that will transform your mornings and help you master your mind from the first minute of the day. Before we continue, I want you to do something very simple yet powerful. 10 Stoic lessons to transform your mornings. 1. Decide what's in your control and what's not. Every morning, before stepping out into the world, pause for a moment and ask yourself a key question. What is truly under my control today? Instead, what you can control is your attitude, your decisions, and how you respond to circumstances. When you adopt this mindset, you reclaim your power, stop being a victim of circumstances, and begin to act with serenity and purpose. 2. Define your purpose for the day. If you don't define your purpose at the start of the day, the world will do it for you. Defining a daily purpose doesn't mean having an endless to-do list, but establishing a clear direction. But when you start the day with a clear purpose, you take control of your destiny. 3. Start with voluntary discomfort. Modern humans have been conditioned to avoid discomfort at all costs. Seneca said, practice poverty from time to time, wear simple clothes, eat little, and ask yourself, is this what I feared so much? 4. Visualize the worst that could happen. Most people live in fear of the future. Seneca explained it this way, a wise man prepares for everything. We strive to ignore it. Life is unpredictable. 5. Reflect on your mortality. The fear of death has tormented humanity forever. Memento mori, remember that you will die, is not a macabre or pessimistic phrase. It's a call to action, an invitation not to waste days on trivial worries, excuses, and meaningless distractions. Instead, whoever keeps the reality of death present lives with urgency, with gratitude, and with purpose. Every conversation becomes meaningful. 6. Don't react immediately to anything. Impulsivity is a silent enemy that can ruin our relationships, our decisions, and ultimately, our peace of mind. In a world where everything seems to happen instantly, the tendency is to react without thinking, letting emotions take over, and acting without awareness of the consequences. This teaching invites us to recognize that emotions, though powerful, do not have to dictate our actions. Anger, fear, frustration, or anxiety, if not managed, can cloud our judgment and distort reality. By practicing the pause, we make room for reflection. That small fraction of a second between stimulus and response is where our freedom lies. Social media rewards us with likes. People judge us based on our decisions, and our self-esteem is affected by others' opinions. The praise of men is always uncertain, always superficial. It's fundamental to understand that we have no control over what others think or say. The only thing we truly have control over is our own conduct and our values. If we act according to what we believe is right, without letting external opinions sway us, we can walk with confidence in our own direction. It gives us the necessary space to organize our ideas, identify what affects us, and clarify our intentions. It is an act of instead of reacting impulsively to events, we take a step back and observe them with perspective. We want more success, more money, more recognition, more comfort. However, this constant desire for what we don't have can plunge us into a feeling of perpetual dissatisfaction. The Stoics, on the other hand, taught that the key to a full life does not lie in the endless pursuit of more, but in learning to deeply value what we already possess. If we start with negative thoughts, criticisms, or complaints, our mind tunes into a vibration of However, The Stoics understood that controlling our mind at the beginning of the day is essential to maintaining a life of peace and virtue. The first thought that arises upon waking defines the rest of the day, they said. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to dissatisfaction and envy. When we are grateful for what we have, we take a step back and see life from a broader perspective. Don't miss it, because that's where a character is truly forged. You focus on what doesn't work, on what you don't like, on what bothers you. Success, happiness, mental clarity, everything always seems to be one step ahead, out of your reach. But what if I told you that the answer isn't in rushing, but in calmness? Anxiety and restlessness are the worst enemies of realization. Take a deep breath, relax, and share this content with your friends, family, or anyone who needs to start their days with more clarity and inner strength. So go to the comments and write, "True strength lies in serenity." It's not just a phrase, but a commitment to yourself. Let's spread this message and strengthen our Stoic community. Stay until the end, because each of these lessons is essential for transforming your mind and helping you achieve what truly matters. Everyone wants quick achievements, instant answers, and success without waiting. But the great wise men of history understood something most people ignore. The more desperately you seek something, the harder it becomes. The Stoics teach us that true power lies in serenity, patience, and focused action. Someone who stays calm amidst chaos sees opportunities that others miss, to trust the process, and to act without desperation. Someone who masters their emotions acts with clarity and precision. Keep cultivating virtue, one morning at a time. See you in the next one. This is how the greatest leaders, thinkers, and strategists in history achieved incredible feats. They learned to relax. And that is exactly what you're going to learn today. How to use calmness as a tool to achieve more with less effort and more wisdom. Thanks for being here. This attitude not only consumes emotional energy, but also traps you in a victim mentality. Remember, each day is a new opportunity to practice Stoicism, not as a theory, but as a way of life. If any of these lessons resonated with you, imagine what applying them daily can do. Instead of focusing on what you can control or change, you surrender to the chaos of frustration. The Stoics, on the contrary, adopted a mindset of resilience and acceptance. Marcus Aurelius, for example, began his day by reminding himself that every difficulty is an opportunity to practice virtue. Instead of focusing on inconveniences or problems, he chose to use his energy to face whatever was going to happen with calmness and wisdom. Everything we possess today, whether it's our health, our family, our freedom, or even our opportunities, are things we once fervently desired at some point in our lives. We learn to live with more serenity, to accept what we cannot change, and to act on what is within our control. Each day is an opportunity to start anew, and by doing so with a positive attitude from the beginning, we align ourselves with inner peace. The first thought of the morning can define your day. If you wake up with gratitude and focus on the positive, your mind will be prepared to face the day with clarity and determination. Instead of getting caught up in complaining and dissatisfaction, instead of focusing on what we have yet to achieve, we can recognize that many of our past aspirations are already fulfilled. By writing about the day ahead, we not only organize our intentions, but also mentally prepare ourselves for the challenges we may face. It is an opportunity to reaffirm our values, to remember that we have control over our reactions, and to define our actions with wisdom. Writing in a Stoic journal is an exercise in awareness, an act of alignment between our mind and our actions. If Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men of his time, dedicated time each day to written reflection, we, with our own struggles and decisions, can also find in the Stoic journal a space for self-growth and clarity. Others' approval is fleeting, but when we are aligned with our own principles, we find lasting satisfaction. Living to please everyone is an unbearable burden. Living with integrity and being true to yourself is the true liberation. This teaching reminds us that no matter how much we seek others' approval, it will always be volatile and subjective. This teaching underscores that poverty is not just a material matter, but a mental condition. True abundance is found in the recognition and appreciation of what we already have. If we take a moment each day to remember and be grateful for what we have, we transform our perspective on life. The Stoics did not deny challenges or difficulties. Instead, they chose to see them as opportunities to learn and grow. Gratitude, then, is not an escape from reality, but a tool to keep us anchored in the present instead of getting lost in what we lack. It helps us live with a calmer mind and a fuller heart. We adapt our personality and our decisions to conform to what others expect of us. This robs us of our authenticity and our freedom. Starting the day with gratitude not only changes our mindset, but also brings us closer to a life of greater peace and satisfaction. When we are grateful for what we have, we find true wealth. What is appreciated today may be criticized tomorrow, and what you consider valuable may not be so for others. When we live seeking external validation, we become slaves to others' expectations. We deviate from our principles. However, the Stoics taught a powerful truth. True inner peace comes from not depending on the approval of others. Instead of reacting with rage to criticism, we can analyze it objectively. Instead of giving in to panic in the face of difficulty, we can find solutions with serenity. The Stoics understood that the mind, like the body, needs training and discipline. Journaling is not just an act of recording thoughts, but a practice of mental clarity and self-examination. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, is one of the best-known examples of how this practice can be a path to inner peace and self-growth. In his meditations, Marcus Aurelius wrote every day, not with the intention of others reading it, but as a means to organize his thoughts and keep his mind focused on what truly mattered. It was not a simple record of events, but a tool for deep reflection on his virtues, his challenges, and his purpose. For him, the journal was a space where reason and reflection could prevail over the chaos and emotions of everyday life. The Stoics knew that our ability to choose how to respond to adversity is what defines our inner peace. It is not what happens to us that defines us, but how we choose to respond. By taking a moment to reflect, we transform every challenge into an opportunity to act with wisdom and control. When something bothers us, we should not act instantly. Instead, we should pause for a moment, breathe, and observe what we are feeling. Self-control does not mean repressing emotions, but recognizing them and choosing how to act from reason and perspective, not from impulse and reactivity. However, the Stoics taught something essential. True strength lies in the ability to respond with calm, not in reacting precipitously. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, said we cannot control the events that happen to us, but we can control our response to them. When we allow our emotions to govern our responses, we risk saying or doing things we will later regret. 7. Reduce the need for approval. We live in a society that constantly tells us we must seek external validation. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, warned us against the trap of external validation. Do not seek the admiration of others. The Stoics taught us that true freedom lies in doing what is right according to our own principles, regardless of what others think. 8. Write in a Stoic journal. The act of writing is a powerful tool for reflection and the writing process allows you to distance yourself from impulsive emotions and thoughts. Start with gratitude in life. We often focus on what we lack. Seneca stated it clearly. It is not the man who has little, but the one who desires more, who is poor. 10. Don't complain in the first hour of the day. The first moments upon waking have a profound impact on how we experience the rest of the day. When you complain or face life with a negative attitude from the start, you condition yourself to see everything as a problem. By avoiding complaints in the first hour of the day, we train our mind to focus on solutions instead of problems. If you've made it this far, you've already taken a huge step towards mastering your mind in your mornings. Now I invite you to delve deeper. In the next video, we'll explore how to maintain this Stoic mindset even in the most difficult moments of the day. If this video brought you value, like it, subscribe if you haven't already. Have you ever noticed that the more you pursue something, the more it seems to slip away? In this video, you'll discover how tranquility can be the key to success through 10 Stoic lessons that'll change the way you face life's challenges. We live in an era of hurry and immediate results, so pour yourself a coffee, get comfortable, and let's embark together on this Stoic path to success. Before we start, I want you to get into the right mindset for this transformation. I'll start with a short story that will help you better understand the wisdom contained in this material. The story of Elias and serenity. There once was a man named Elias, a young entrepreneur who dedicated his life to the pursuit of success. He woke up early, worked tirelessly, and wouldn't accept failure. Noticing the young man's restlessness, Adrian suggested they take a walk at sunset. As they walked through the park, Elias poured out his heart, saying he felt he never did enough, that he had to run faster, achieve more quickly, because time was slipping away. Adrian listened in silence and, after a few moments, smiled. Anxiety consumed him because every obstacle seemed like a sign that he was falling behind. Every time he felt anxiety dominating him, he stopped, breathed, and remembered the lake. He began to act with more strategy and less desperation, focusing on what was under his control and accepting what he couldn't change. And to his surprise, the results began to come naturally. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest emperors of Rome, wrote in his Meditations, "If you hurry in everything, you will never truly be present." And freedom began with a very simple principle. Stop worrying about things we cannot control. Elias smiled. For the first time, he understood that true strength lay in serenity. Epictetus said that it's not events that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. Change begins when you accept this truth. The next time something slips out of your control, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this up to me? Focus your energy on what you can do. If the answer is no, let it go. Have you said something without thinking and ended up creating a problem you could have avoided? Haste and impulsivity are enemies of clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote that anger, fear, and anxiety only exist because we allow our emotions to govern our actions. If we want to act wisely, we must first silence the internal chaos. The next time you feel the need to react immediately, take a deep breath. Counting 2-3 might seem too simple, but it works. The more you resist this, the more suffering you create. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we should not only accept our destiny, but love it. Not everything happens at the moment you desire it, but when it's meant to happen. Seneca said that sometimes not getting what we want is a stroke of luck. We create scenarios in our minds, anticipate results, and cling to them. But when reality doesn't match our expectations, we feel disappointment, anger, and even if you do something expecting praise, approval, or reward, you're putting your happiness in the hands of others. The less you worry about the future. This way, instead of just wishing for something to go well, you'll build a solid foundation so that, no matter what happens, you'll be ready to move forward. Fewer expectations mean less suffering and more clarity. And the more you focus on the present, the more prepared you'll be to face any outcome. Because in most cases, the rush to respond leads us to make mistakes, regret, and wear ourselves out unnecessarily. When you're in a conversation, notice how often you feel the need to interrupt, correct, or give your opinion. Try simply listening. If someone doesn't understand your decision or questions your choices, you don't have to explain yourself all the time. Sometimes, silence is the best response. Apply this lesson. Speak less, listen more, and observe before acting. Because whoever masters silence masters their own destiny. This not only avoids misunderstandings, but also gives you more information before deciding how to act. Silence is also a tool of power in discussions and negotiations. Whoever talks too much reveals their weaknesses. Whoever learns to use pauses and not say everything they think has more control over any situation. The first practical application of this idea is simple. Learn to pause before responding. If someone provokes or challenges you, don't react impulsively. Breathe, count to 3, and ask yourself, will my response truly contribute something, or will it just fuel the conflict? But the Stoics knew that true growth happens precisely in discomfort. The more you resist the challenge, the weaker you become. The more you face it, the stronger you get. Many times, silence dissolves a problem before it even begins. This means that without resistance, without pressure, there is no evolution. If something doesn't go as expected, don't see it as a failure, but as a learning opportunity. Marcus Aurelius wrote that what impedes action propels action. If an obstacle appears in your path, it can be exactly what you need to evolve. Accepting discomfort also means voluntarily exposing yourself to the challenge. This could be facing something that scares you, like public speaking, learning a new skill, or solving a problem you've been postponing. The more you practice stepping out of your comfort zone, the more prepared you'll be for any situation. And above all, remember, the pain of discipline will always be less than the pain of regret. Accept discomfort because that's where true transformation occurs. The more you face it, the more prepared you are for anything life throws your way. Just as a muscle needs the effort to grow, your mind needs challenges to become resilient. The first practical application of this idea is simple. The next time you face a difficult situation, instead of avoiding it, ask yourself, how can this make me stronger? Instead of resisting, see discomfort as training. So focus on what you can do. Stop waiting for something to change and start acting to make the change happen. Instead, focus on the process. Do what you have to do because it's right, because it strengthens you, because it's part of your growth. Another way to reduce expectations and increase action is to stop expecting others to act as you want. Each person has their own way of seeing the world, their own challenges, and their own limits. Creating rigid expectations about how others should behave only leads to disappointment. When you learn to accept people as they are, without trying to control them, you live with more lightness and fewer frustrations. The Stoics teach us that, instead of wasting energy on what we imagine, we should focus on what we can do. Seneca said that we suffer more in our imagination than in reality. Many times we torment ourselves with what might happen and forget that the only real control we have is over our own actions. But the Stoics knew that whoever masters silence masters themselves. Not every provocation needs a response. Not every conflict requires more words. Sometimes, the greatest strength lies in remaining silent. What seems like a loss today may actually be the door that leads you to something better tomorrow. This isn't passivity, but wisdom. You continue acting, you continue giving your best, but without clinging to a single outcome. When you stop resisting and learn to flow with life, you find more peace, more clarity, and more strength to face any situation. So when you face the unexpected change or what you cannot control, ask yourself, how can I turn this into learning? Because life will always follow its own course, and true wisdom lies in learning to navigate with it. This means seeing every event not as an obstacle but as an essential part of the journey. When something goes out of your control, instead of complaining or despairing, ask yourself, how can I adapt to this? Every transformation brings an opportunity, but only those who are attentive can see it. Another key practice is to let go of the illusion that everything has to turn out exactly as you planned. If a plan fails, it doesn't mean life is against you, only that the path will be different. Adjust your route, but keep moving forward. But what if, instead of fighting the inevitable, you learn to accept the natural flow of life? That brief interval between stimulus and response gives your mind the opportunity to exit autopilot mode and regain control. What seems urgent today might not be so important tomorrow. An agitated mind distorts reality and leads us to hasty choices. But what if you've learned to calm your mind before acting and let the rest take its course? This isn't passivity, but emotional intelligence. Time is a great ally of wisdom. Calmness is not passivity, but strategy. When you learn to silence your mind before acting, your decisions become more accurate, your life balances, and you avoid unnecessary regrets. Not every provocation needs an immediate response. Apply it in your daily life. Before responding, before deciding, before reacting, stop, breathe, reflect, and only then act with wisdom. Rigidity breaks you. Flexibility allows you to adapt and move forward. Just acknowledging the emotion already diminishes its impact and helps you think with greater clarity. The practice of silence is also a powerful tool. If someone offends or pressures you, try to pause before responding. Sometimes, simply not reacting already deactivates a problem before it even begins. The waters were agitated by the wind, making it impossible to see the bottom. Adrian pointed to the surface and said, "Look at this lake. The more you stir the water, the murkier it becomes. But if you wait, if you let calm invade it, everything becomes clear." Elias frowned, not entirely understanding what that had to do with his dilemma. The more you resist, the more tired you become. But what if, instead of fighting the current, you learn to flow with it? He realized that he had spent years trying to cling to success with his own hands, but he had never stopped to allow it to come to him. Every obstacle hides an opportunity, but to see it, you first have to stop resisting. If a door closes, don't waste your days lamenting. Another door might already be open, waiting for you to walk through it. But to realize this, you need to be present, not trapped in the frustration of what didn't happen. Accepting doesn't mean giving up, but understanding that every situation has its own rhythm, and those who learn to flow with life, instead of fighting against it, find a lighter and wiser path. So the next time you feel like you're wearing yourself out fighting reality, remember, relax, observe, and keep going, because true strength isn't in resistance, but in adaptation. Adrian concluded by saying that the Stoics knew that life has its own rhythm, and that those who learn to align with it, instead of fighting against it, end up finding exactly what they are looking for. The professor continued explaining that an anxious mind drowns in excessive movement, while a serene mind sees opportunities with clarity. He also mentioned another great Stoic thinker, Seneca, who said, "Nothing is more worthy of a balanced spirit than to live with calm and patience." After another frustrating day, Elias met an old friend, Adrian, a philosophy professor known for his Unshakable.com. Then he told him the story of an emperor who, despite ruling a vast empire, understood that haste was the enemy of clarity. As he reflected on this, Elias saw a small lake in the park. At that moment, something inside Elias began to change. In the following days, Elias began to apply that teaching. At the end of that walk, Adrian gave him one last piece of advice, quoting Epictetus, "Happiness now." Let's move on to the 10 lessons that will help you relax and achieve success. 10 lessons to achieve success with calmness. 1. Stop resisting and flow with life. Have you ever felt exhausted trying to control the uncontrollable, as if life constantly drags you in directions you didn't choose? Resistance comes from the desire for things to be different than they are, but reality doesn't bend to our will. Marcus Aurelius wrote that what impedes action propels action. 2. Calm your mind before acting. Have you ever made a decision in the heat of the moment and later regretted it? Things change, plans fail, and the unexpected always happens. The Stoics knew that haste is a trap. Another effective technique is observation. Instead of acting on impulse, ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Is this distorting my perception? Furthermore, when you face a difficult situation, ask yourself, does this decision need to be made now? If the answer is no, wait. 3. Accept the natural flow of life. Life never follows a perfect script. The Stoics understood that reality doesn't adapt to our desires. Accepting the flow of life also implies trusting in time. 4. Less expectations, more action. Frustration arises from the difference between what we expect and what actually happens. The first practical application of this idea is simple. Stop expecting external recognition. In your daily life, change "I hope this happens" to "what can I do to be prepared for any outcome." 5. Silence is a powerful weapon. Silence has more power than many words. We live in a world where everyone wants to talk, have an opinion, and react immediately. Epictetus said that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, to listen more and speak less. Another powerful practice is to listen more than you speak. And finally, remember that you don't always have to justify yourself. 6. Accept discomfort and grow with it. Most people avoid discomfort at all costs. We seek the easiest path, flee from difficulties, and complain when something takes us out of our comfort zone. Seneca said that difficulties strengthen the mind, just as labor strengthens the body. Another key practice is to change the way you perceive error. 7. Practice gratitude for what you already have. The incessant search for more prevents us from seeing the value of what we already possess. We live trapped in a cycle of dissatisfaction, always waiting for the next goal to feel complete. But this mindset shackles us. The Stoics knew that true wealth is not in accumulating goods or achieving status, but in learning to value the present. They all contribute something to our lives, but we rarely stop to acknowledge it. Gratitude doesn't need to be grand. A sincere message, a genuine compliment, or a simple thank you with intention is enough. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the obstacle is the way. Everything we face teaches us something, strengthens us, and shapes us for the future. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" try asking, "What can I learn from this?" Gratitude for learning turns difficulties into growth. Happiness isn't in what's still missing, but in how you perceive what you already have. Make a list of 3 daily priorities and concentrate on them before worrying about anything else. If you're surrounded by negative people who only complain and drain your energy, reconsider those ties. Epictetus said that we should choose our company wisely, as they directly influence our mindset and behavior. Not all opportunities are worth your time. Not all commitments should be accepted. Every yes he gives to something unimportant is a no to what truly makes a difference. In moments of stress, we seek external solutions when in reality, control is already within us. The Stoics knew that a balanced mind comes from self-mastery, and breath is one of the most powerful tools to achieve it. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 4 seconds, and exhale slowly through your mouth for 6 seconds. This reduces your heart rate and sends a signal to your brain that you're in control. Another essential practice is to use your breath before making important decisions. If you're facing a difficult situation or feel like you're about to react impulsively, take 3 deep breaths before responding. But the Stoics knew that everything has its right time. The more impatient we become, the more anxiety and frustration we accumulate. When you feel something isn't happening at the pace you desire, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what is under my control now? If there's something you can do, do it. If not, accept and keep moving forward. Keep doing your part, stay firm on your path, and let time do the rest. What is meant for you will arrive at the right moment. Anxiety about the future will only steal your energy in the present. Few people truly stop to reflect on these lessons and apply them in their daily lives. But you did, and that already puts you a step ahead. Write in the comments, share your experience, and if you have nothing specific to say, just comment gratitude, so I'll know you watched until the end. And turn on notifications, so you won't miss any new videos, and we'll continue evolving with Stoic wisdom. See you in the next video. Trusting in time also means accepting that things don't always go as we planned. Seneca said that fate guides those who accept it and drags those who resist. This doesn't mean sitting idly by, but understanding that some doors close so that others can open. When something doesn't go as expected, instead of despairing, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Often, what seems like a delay is actually a necessary redirection. True wisdom lies in trusting the process, acting with consistency, and allowing time to do its work. Just as a tree doesn't grow overnight, our results also need time to mature. If you're planting good seeds, work, study, discipline, trust that the fruits will come at the right time. And above all, understand that haste rarely yields good results. How many times, in trying to accelerate a process, do we end up making mistakes that cause us to lose even more time? Trusting the process doesn't mean not acting, but acting with strategy, without desperation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything happens as it should happen. If you observe carefully, you will see that it is so." This means that no matter how much we try to speed things up, there are stages that simply need to be lived. Fighting against this only leads to exhaustion. This brief moment takes you out of automatic mode and allows you to evaluate the situation with more clarity. If you're learning something new, starting a project, or working on a goal, accept that progress comes step by step. Instead of focusing only on the final goal, value every small step forward. Ask yourself, what can I do today to get closer to my objective? Small daily actions, when added up, create great transformations. When we learn to use it as an anchor, we gain more clarity, more control, and more serenity. Close your eyes, observe the air entering and leaving, and feel how your mind calms down. When you return to what you were doing, you'll notice that you have more focus and efficiency. Another powerful way to apply this practice is in moments of tension, like arguments or unexpected challenges. If you feel your patience being tested, instead of reacting immediately, breathe deeply. This can avoid unnecessary conflicts and help you act more strategically. When you learn to protect your attention, your productivity increases and your mind becomes calmer. The Stoics practiced exercises to resist discomfort, and one of the most effective ways to face difficult situations is to train your breath under pressure. When you're going through a challenging moment, remember, you may not control what happens, but you can control how you breathe. Using breath as an anchor means having a tool always available to maintain balance, regardless of the circumstances. So the next time you feel you're losing control, before reacting, pause, breathe, and only then make a decision. You will discover that the difference between acting on impulse and acting with wisdom lies in that small instant of awareness. Reducing noise and focusing on the essential is not just a decision, but a strategy for living better. By eliminating excesses, defining priorities, and setting limits, you become more efficient, more present, and more aligned with what truly matters. So the next time you feel overloaded with information and distractions, stop, breathe, and ask yourself, what is essential now? If a conversation doesn't bring you anything, walk away. If a relationship brings more noise than growth, set boundaries. Ask yourself, what is truly necessary to do today? What is draining my energy unnecessarily? Many times we feel the need to express our opinion, justify ourselves, and react to everything. But silence teaches us to observe with more clarity. When you speak less and listen more, you avoid unnecessary arguments and become more strategic in your responses. Before entering any debate, ask yourself, does this really need to be said? If the answer is no, save your energy. By reducing excess, you free up space for what truly matters. With haste, with fear, with impulsivity. But before any reaction, there's always an instant of choice. And how do we usually react? If we can calm our breath in that moment, we can also calm our actions. Practice gratitude daily. Appreciate the small details. Recognize the good around you, and observe how your perception of life changes. The more grateful you are, the more you realize that you already possess everything you need to be happy. When we express appreciation, we strengthen our bonds and create a more positive environment. Seneca said that he who is not content with little will never be satisfied with anything. The Stoics knew that mental clarity is essential for a balanced and productive life. The more noise you allow into your life, the harder it becomes to see what's truly important. Seneca said that life is short, but it becomes long enough for those who know how to make good use of it. However, most people waste their time and energy on things that don't add value. They work without purpose, consume irrelevant content, and worry about others' opinions. But what if you learn to reduce that noise and focus on what truly matters? This means that if your happiness always depends on what you don't yet have, it will never be lasting. Ask yourself, is this contributing to my growth or just filling a void? Social media, alarmist news, and meaningless arguments steal your attention and pull you away from your goals. Start by setting limits. Define specific times to use your phone, silence notifications, and learn to differentiate what deserves your attention from what is just noise. Every time you reach a goal, another appears on the horizon, and the feeling of fulfillment never truly arrives. Gratitude, on the other hand, breaks this cycle and teaches you to find satisfaction now, not in an uncertain future. The first practical application of this idea is simple, but powerful. Every day upon waking or before sleeping, think of 3 things you are grateful for. It can be something big like a professional achievement or a valuable relationship, or something small like the sunlight streaming through the window or a moment of tranquility. When you train your mind to recognize what you already have, you begin to realize that there are more reasons to be grateful than you imagined. Another fundamental practice is to express gratitude actively. Many times we take the people around us for granted. Friends, family, co-worker. It's also essential to shift your focus from scarcity to abundance. Instead of dwelling on what's missing, observe what you already have. When you feel something isn't enough, stop and reflect. If I lost this today, would I realize how valuable it was? Many times, we only appreciate something when we no longer have it. Gratitude teaches us to value before it's too late. The Stoics practiced negative visualization, a technique that involves imagining the loss of what we value most. It might seem pessimistic, but it's actually an exercise that deepens our appreciation for what we have. When you imagine your life without something essential, be it your health, your work, or a loved one, you begin to notice its importance in the present. This exercise doesn't seek to generate fear, but to strengthen the awareness that nothing is certain and, therefore, must be valued while we have it. Finally, it's crucial to learn to be grateful, even for challenges. 8. Reduce the noise and focus on the essential. We live surrounded by distractions. We are constantly bombarded with notifications, irrelevant information, and external pressures that pull us away from what truly matters. The first practical application of this idea is to eliminate unnecessary distractions. Another key practice is to simplify your routine. The more complicated your life, the harder it will be to stay focused. Also, pay attention to the people around you. Another powerful way to reduce noise is to practice silence. And finally, learn to say no. 9. Use breath as an anchor. An agitated mind leads us to impulsive decisions, anxiety, and emotional exhaustion. Epictetus said that we don't control events, but we do control how we react to them. The first practical application of this idea is simple. Every time you feel anxious or under pressure, stop and breathe deeply. Breathing can also improve your concentration. If you feel scattered or overwhelmed, try to focus on your breath for a minute before resuming your task. But breath not only calms us, it also strengthens us. We want immediate results, quick changes, and instant answers. 10. Trust in time and the process. We live in an age of haste. The first practical application of this idea is to release the need for immediate results. Another key practice is to change the way we handle impatience. This means you're committed to your growth and seeking knowledge to improve your life. Another essential point is to develop patience with life's natural cycles. So the next time you feel like you're racing against time, stop and reflect. Am I really behind, or am I just impatient? If you made it this far, congratulations. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these ideas resonated most with you? How do you plan to apply it in your daily life? And before you go, if this content made sense to you, subscribe to the channel.